What's up, everybody? Welcome to the State of Wild episode 144, a regular YouTube video web series podcast thingy. My name is Meowth, and as usual, I'm joined by my two good friends and co-hosts, Roffle and Corbett. Guys, we're here. Titans is tomorrow. How you guys feeling?
It's been like 5 days since I've really played any Hearthstone, so like I'm actually itching to play a little bit. I'm looking forward to the release tomorrow. I had a good time with the theory crafting, but was exhausted from like 7 hours of streaming new cards.
Yeah, I have also been very hands off when it comes to Hearthstone the past few days, which is good. It means I'm really eager for tomorrow as well. If we were in the EU, it would be today. So time zones, funny how that works. But no, I'm very eager and very happy to provide you guys with all the absolutely 100% correct insight. And never going to be wrong about anything as we even look back at our old predictions.
Spoilers. All right, I'm ready for the laughs when you talk about our strongest cards. This upcoming expansion as well as last. But surely Corb would never be wrong, including about his predictions 2 weeks ago about Automaton Priest, right? Not wrong about a single thing. Absolutely not.
I mean,
all right.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it had a 100% win rate against him in the theory crafting event.
Yeah, we'll talk about Automaton Priest in a bit here. We'll save the content. Before we look forward, I think it is important that we take a little bit of a step back, look back at Festival of Legends and what was, and it was really funny, kind of looking back. Towards the beginning of the Festival of Legends. Do you guys remember Instrument Tech with Unnerved Twigs and Sphere? What a couple of weeks that was, guys, huh? That was actually only 4 months ago.
Yeah, it honestly feels like an eternity ago. When you sent over the show notes, I was looking at it, I'm like, oh my god, that happened. And it was just as bad as everyone expected it to be. Maybe worse. Maybe it was maybe worse. Yeah.
It was worse. Well, I had a great time. I had so much fun. It was the most fun that I had this entire expansion was playing Druid in those first 3 weeks. It was fantastic. I loved it.
God, I remember, and I know HS replay stats aren't perfect, but I remember, what was it? If you played Tech on 2 and Twig on 4, like the win rate was like 80% or something like that. And that was,
I still have all these great screenshots of like the population and stuff still on my Twitter feed. It's pretty unreal the Druid population what it got up to at the time. Like it was well over 50% of Legend. It was crazy. It was a good time.
Good time, bad times. People have different experiences of those 2 weeks. But that was only 4 months ago. That happened this expansion.
Yeah.
And then after they gutted Twig, we had that whole metagame of Even Shaman, Shutter Shaman, and Questline Druid. I think everybody loved that and loved those decks. Quest Druid, spread the word. We'll talk about that card, later. Harmonic Mood, some Groovy Cat, and some Arcane Giants. I think probably one of the biggest winners of this set. And then we also kind of had the, 2 brand new decks kind of pop into the scene. We had Questline Demon Hunter, which was like the first Demon Hunter deck that wasn't odd, that had made a huge impact on Wild. And then we had a large population of Kingsbane Rogue, but unlike Questline Demon Hunter, it was not very good, even though people complained about it, a lot.
I think it like fooled some people early on. Like I'm talking the first week of the expansion because it's not that hard to shove in some weapon synergy cards into Kingsbane Rogue and blast some people that are testing out new cards. But for some reason, like that perception of it from that first week stuck like almost throughout the entirety of the expansion with some players, even though it like was not a good deck. And then people, especially down ladder, really didn't even like wrap their heads around Questline Demon Hunter being a deck, despite it being one of the best decks in the format, until Twist came out, really. And like that kind of exposed its relative dominance as well to a broader population. It's like the perception of the 2 decks was completely flipped in terms of their like actual success.
Yeah. This was even talked about. But did we even talk about this before the expansion launched? That Questline Druid was going to be much better, but then Kingsbane was going to be the thing that people complained about more.
I think we were still high on just like straight outcast Demon Hunter. I think that maybe we got baited by some of the um, other cards, or at least I personally was. Um, so I think we were a little bit higher on that, but like in general, yes.
Yeah, I think specifically after the Twig nerf, because like during Twig heyday, that's when we realized that just like playing the quest line in your Druid decks was kind of busted, and like playing that package. And then I think after Twig got nerfed, that's when we had this conversation of, yeah, they're both the same deck. One's good, one's not, but people are going to complain about Kingsbane. So
Oh, sorry. Did you say I was talking about
Yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah. The Druid, not Demon Hunter. That's
Okay.
okay. I get
I
Demon Hunter confused with every other class as well.
right. Okay. Well, I'm joining that party then.
And then just to wrap up the festival meta post mini set, I think it's important to note the just the drastic drop off of Pirate Rogue, where people I think are always thinking about it and a little bit scarred by Swordfish on 3. But that deck's popularity and win rate has been going down and down throughout the entire set, kind of corresponding with the rise of stuff like the mech decks coming back, and then specifically everybody's favorite Seeker Mage with Costume Singer.
Well, this is very similar to what was happening to the deck before it got Jolly Roger. It had just been a very long time of playing the same exact list, and Pirate Rogue was for a moment there. It's like, is it actually tier 3? Like, wait, what's going on? And it's like, it got the best card in its deck, basically. And it's like, oh, okay, never mind, it's fine. But yeah, then it's happening again. It's kind of the same sort of thing that was happening with Pirate Warrior towards the very end in Wild, where this sort of like very on board. It doesn't cheat out tons of mana compared to some of the other things in the format. And so it's pretty understandable why this would fall off a little bit faster compared to something like perhaps Even Shaman as another aggro deck. So yeah, the Pirates, if they don't get support, they get worse. Shocker. So yeah, we'll see where Pirate Rogue eventually lands, because it does have a very strong foundation for the future.
And it does have a strong foundation of robots playing it at lower ranks, which is probably not doing a whole lot of good for its win rate. But like even outside of that, it's just like it's not, because like even Shaman still performs very well, and it is nearly as frequently botted, and the bots make just far more egregious misplays with that than Pirate Rogue. So you can't explain all of the decks like drop off with just to botting. I think it's just like it's just not as powerful of a deck as even Shaman, for instance, or the mech decks.
All right, so kind of looking back at the entirety of Festival Legends, outside of Twig Druid, if you guys had to pick one huge winner from the set, what are you guys picking?
I mean, either of the questline decks for sure. Like, just completely, uh, were dominant. Not only in wild, in two formats, like they were dominant in both wild and twist, because they were both like entirely playable in each of those formats, and like are just kind of the best decks in wild right now. Still, like with some of the mech decks, approaching that if they first get some more support, which they are, and second, start seeing a higher play rate, which they will because they get new cards.
Yeah, like when I think about this set, I'm gonna be thinking about Twig and Questline, and then I'm gonna be thinking about Demon Hunter getting its first real deck that isn't just like hero powered, strapped together with 30 other cards. So that's great. Like it's a real milestone in Wild's history. Like Wild is hopefully going to be a format that's around for a very long time, and this is the first time that the new class got something that was very Wild specific, that was very powerful. So big wins for Demon Hunter, and Shaman just keeps on winning. Shaman just keeps on winning every expansion. It's been this way for some time.
Yeah, and it probably will be for this upcoming one too. We'll get to that as well. All right, so that was the Festival of Legends recap in terms of the meta, but it's also time to recap our predictions from 4 months ago. We sat here in this very spot and we talked about what we thought our 5 strongest cards were going to be. So I think at this point we're going to talk about each person's predictions. I think it's going to be a lot less exciting than our predictions for this set, because there was a lot of overlap. I went back and listened. So
there's a lot of low hanging fruit as well.
Yeah,
To be
there was some
honest with
obvious
you.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Roffle had Instrument Tech, Glaive Tar, Rush the Stage, Spread the Word, and Mic Drop. So I think we can safely say like Instrument Tech, Glaive Tar, Spread the Word, busted escorts. I think we're pretty safe in saying that he was correct on those.
I think Mic Drop is pretty close in there as well. Like it actually, like the fact that Kingsbane Rogue went from seeing no play to seeing some play, even if it was exaggerated. I still think it's probably a worse pick than Harmonic Hip Hop because like that was probably the thing did a lot more heavy lifting for the deck than Mic Drop. And similarly with Rush the Stage, I think I was a little bit too Walloper pilled going into the expansion and didn't see the vision that was Brutes.
Yeah. All right. So Corb, crazy here. You also had three of the same things. You had Instrument Tech, Spread the Word, Glaive Tar. The good picks. You also had Rush the Stage. We were all, I think, a little bit pilled on this one. And then you had a little bit of a different pick here than Mic Drop with Love Everlasting. And I actually went back and listened to the episode, and I remember you specifically saying that because you love Big Priest and you were always thinking about it, and that's why you picked Lover Everlasting. Do you want to defend yourself from the YouTube comments?
Defend myself. This is a great pick. This is absolutely correct. What are you talking about? I picked the best card in Big Priest that isn't Shadow Essence.
I wasn't saying you were wrong. I was saying the whole, loving and always thinking about Big Priest thing.
Well, everybody knows that, though. I mean, come on. I know the other two people on this show try not to think about it, but I'm willing to go where they are with some very bold Priest predictions. That's my my niche, apparently.
Yeah, and it's gonna keep going. The automatons. I'm holding you to that one. All right, and then mine. I kind of went a little bit out of left field. I had Instrument Tech, Spread the Word, Rush the Stage. We've already talked about those. I also had Love Everlasting, the Big Priest Defender, and me. And then I had Volume Up as my last card here, and so I think I'd take the award for kind of the worst prediction here. Not that Volume Up's a bad card, but I said that I wanted to be different because I had Glaive Tar as one of my favorite cards in the set, and I didn't want to repeat myself and repeat you guys, but I think definitely should have had Glaive Tar in here. I think that's a much better card than Volume Up. Not that Volume Up's bad, but
Yeah, it's not that far off from Rush to the Stage though in terms of like wild viability. So I don't think you're. I don't know. That's not that bad of a choice comparatively.
I think if I was going to go through and pick the top 5, it probably would be Spread, Love Everlasting, Harmonic would be the pick.
which Harmonic?
Harmonic Hip Hop.
Okay.
Oh,
No, not Mood. I'd say Harmonic Hip Hop. I think I had
Okay.
a Mood. And then what were the other two I had? I had Glaive Tar and
Glaive Tar and then probably Tech, right? Because at the time.
and Instrument Tech. Yeah. So I think it would be that. It's replaced Rush the Stage with Harmonic Hip Hop.
I think we did pretty well though. Like in general, I think there was a little bit of low hanging fruit, right, with Tech and Glaive Tar and stuff, but
Yeah, we got very baited by Rush the Stage, but apart from that, like pretty good.
yeah,
we
well,
did. I mean, Wallopers were looking UC. Like they just
Yeah,
got
they
nerfed. I defend that one.
Yeah, we just didn't realize that you drew so many cards that you didn't need to tutor them because you just had them
Right.
always because you drew so many cards. But hey, look, at least that's a mistake all three of us made and not just one, right? So we can't laugh at a singular person. All right, we'll see if our predictions are as close this time. I think we were talking a little bit earlier, and I'm predicting that we're going to be a lot more, a lot different this time around. We'll see. I feel like it was hard to pick 5 for all of us, and so that's why I feel like it's a little bit harder, right? There's not as many, low-hanging cards there for us to choose. All right, before we hop into our predictions, do want to spend a little bit of time. We did do some theory crafting, for standard. I know we also did a little bit of theory crafting and played, or built some wild decks. We've had kind of like a week and a half to just digest all of the cards that have been revealed. So I kind of want to just like open the floor for, cards or decks from the new expansion that you guys are excited about and are excited to mess around with in Wild.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of cards that I'm just excited to toy around with that make for like good content. Things like the Stars Align or whatever in Priest just looks like goofy fun. And then like every single one of the Titans, when I was picking my 5 favorite, it just felt like I was like, I had this bag of legendary minions and I was just rooting around in there and picking one out at random. I'm like, yeah, sure, that one's going to be fun. And it's like, aside from I'm very excited about one Titan in particular, but the other ones all just like are about equally like exciting for me. They just like often big beefy value engines that do some silly things and allow for some silly play. So I'm looking forward to Titans. They seemed powerful in the theory crafting, but like that's a very specific metagame where your 1/3 of your deck is new cards, so the decks are like by definition unrefined, and you're going up against other streamers and content creators, so you have a little bit more room for goofiness, like in a lot of those cases. So I don't know how well that will translate to Wild, but looking forward to it nonetheless.
Yeah, maybe we can rephrase the questions that way we don't overlap too much with our eventual top five. More about, did anything in particular surprise you when the Theorycraft was happening? Anything catch you off guard that you weren't really expecting, or what was the general experience that you had in the Theorycrafting? Anything stand out that you tried or that you saw from the people that you're playing against?
Um, it doesn't take much for Shaman to kill you. Is the thing that I learned very quickly. Like you just kind of die. Um, there's a lot more from hand damage than I was expecting, just across the board. It seemed like, because when you look at the Titans, you're like, those are big beefy like board based things. But then like you get stuff like Sif throwing damage over the top. I think I took like 53 or 63 damage from a single Sif as control warrior. Then I turned around and did 33 as a control warrior because I had Odin down. So like things like that were a little bit unexpected. um, and I was surprised at how lean the plagues felt in uh, Death Knight as well. That was one of my favorite decks that I played. Is just like the getting something additional other than just damage off of them when they're drawn feels a lot better than something like a bomb where you're just like cross your fingers, hope you pull them. You're also like increasing the density of things in their deck compared to bombs, so it just feels a lot less bad to play. I feel like on both sides because you're taking slow incremental damage when you're drawing the plagues, and you're not like desperately searching for bombs every game when you're playing the deck. So I feel like it's a bit of a compromise that feels a lot better for both players, in my opinion.
Meowth?
Yeah, you're taking my hosting job, bro. This is
I
you
know,
supposed to
I
answer the
stole
questions
it.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna steal a little bit of Roffle's answer there. Like the Titans, you know, when we originally saw them like a month ago, I think the response was we're not underestimating anything ever again, right? When it comes to WoW, like we did kind of maybe the Colossal Minions, and I don't think that it's very hard to underestimate these Titans because they're really damn powerful. Like I saw people do some stupid things with ENR in Standard, and I think that's going to be a very good deck in Standard, and I'm wondering like how to best abuse that or use it in Wild. Things like just like the Hunter one just seems like all around good. Same with Amethyst. The Priest one is busted in half. Same with the Shaman. And so I'm excited. I think Titans are, you know, gonna be, they're the namesake card of the expansion, and I think I'm like really excited to see if how big of an impact. I think they will have an impact, but I'm excited to see just how big. But I think there's a lot of other like role players and pieces for existing decks in the format, which I think is always huge. Festival of Legends kind of had the same thing where, yeah, we got like a brand new archetype when it came to Questline Druid, but a lot of other older pieces got support, and this looks like the same thing's happening this set, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the standard definitely feels like it kind of leveled up in terms of the off-board late game damage, but also in terms of the board swings. Like Drum Circle is going to be a card in Standard Hearthstone.
I got
Um,
I got
yeah,
drum circled pretty hard.
yeah. Druid felt really good.
Yeah.
Not like people are all playing blind aggro, so we'll have to see. But man, some of those board swings, even paired with cultivation, like that made me pretty interested in at least exploring some of the studio space in Wild. It was that powerful. But yeah, Titans very good themselves. Meowth and I did get the chance to. We played like an hour of Wild in
You're gonna get us in
friendlies.
trouble, bro. We're not.
No, look, we did. Look, it said we could do friendlies for specific content that we were looking for. I read the email to the best of my ability, and so we
Hey, Hat,
did
if you're
get in
listening, it's
trouble.
Corb's fault, not mine. Okay.
Yeah, I got you in trouble.
It wasn't
And
involved.
yeah, we tried a little bit of the automatons and the frogs, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah. Just I guess since we're on the topic, guys, I hate to admit it, but Corb may have been right. The automaton priest seems very legit. Was killing Corb on turn 4, turn 5, like very consistently, with 10 attack automatons, and so I hate to admit it, I really do, but that Corb guy might have been right. Pogo priest is real.
I walked it back. I think I walked it back in the last episode.
That's-
So I don't. I was a
That's
coward.
the last thing I remember. Yeah, is Corb walking it back. But
So if you walk it back,
so-
am I allowed to take credit for it then? If you walked it back,
Maybe.
no, it's. I think it sets him up for a win-win position. It just depends on which episode he wants to cite for.
Just playing both sides. That way, I'm always on top. Yep.
But even then, like I think Frog Shaman obviously is the I think the strongest deck coming out of theory crafting out of the new stuff. I think it's safe to say. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
Maybe. I mean, it's the most hyped. It's the most.
Yeah,
Right.
There you go.
It's the most talked about. I think.
It's it's either. Yeah, I mean, it could be on either end of the Kingsbane questline, Demon Hunter spectrum, right? Like, I think it would, or maybe questline or the early Druid shenanigans, I guess, because like everybody's hyping it up pretty hard going into it. But it is, still has the potential to be a bit of a fragile deck, right? If it doesn't draw the frog, it's going to be in trouble. But man, when I found out that what is it, Crash of Thunder hit minions as well as face, I was like, oh, good God, this is not okay. So yeah, it's going to do a lot of damage. It's going to take maybe a little bit of refinement to get the right density of nature spells and minions, and determine, like, figure out what it's how it's going to finish games. But I'm sure it won't take that long. Like, there's some cards that you just you just put in, right?
Yeah, that's a Corp question. What's the what are you cooking for this questline shaman? Or is it even
What am I
questline shaman?
cooking?
Is it frog? Yeah, like
Yeah, I was cooking a questline version. Compared to, I mean, you could use that over in Dagger. I like, we'll get to it when we talk about the powerful stuff, but I do think there are some flaws maybe in going in the full OTK as fast as you can game plan. But we shall see. I don't know. I think the frog shaman stuff is very exciting. I think a lot of the shaman stuff actually in general is very exciting for the class.
Agreed. I think it's, before we move on, we keep tiptoeing around naming specific cards to not
Yeah.
to jump on our favorites and our strongest predictions. But I just want to mention a couple of other cards that I think are going to be I feel like they're flying a little bit under the radar. Like, people aren't talking about them maybe as much as they should. So one of them is maybe just in the spell school multicaster mage package kind of in general in Wild. And the other one is Imprisoned Horror in Warlock. Like, you might not even need to be in a specific questline Warlock deck for that horror deck to be real. Or horror just to be a good card. So I just wanted to shout out those two. I hope I'm not stepping any toes on predictions, but we just hadn't talked about them yet, and so I just wanted to make sure that they were on people's radars as cards that I'm really looking forward to mess around with.
Back off, Meowth. All right, we'll get to it.
Sorry, did I mention your 0 mana 5/5s? My bad. Also, shout out to Steam Guardian, Black Rock and Roll Warrior. Seems good and fun. All right, we kept skirting around things. You guys just want to hop into predictions here? Okay. All right.
Sure.
So let's go ahead and start with favorites, because that way people can't judge us for our favorites. And so Roffle, you wanna lead us in with your 5 cards that you're looking forward to playing the most?
Sure. The one that I've already played, and this is the one that stands out above all because he is the best boy, and his name is the Primus. I love the fact that he adds the health to like himself and you. Like he doesn't just heal. He adds health. So like he sticks, you stay alive. This is the probably the greediest Titan. Um because it's like a value engine on top of like the value that you get off of the button press, which I really like. So similarly, my next favorite is also Amon Thul, which does something similar. Like you get value from its effect, and then you get value back in hand. That's everything I want from a card. Unfortunately, well, fortunately, they like actually remove threats and like make some sort of impact on board. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be at all playable. But that's okay. Um, so all of these are legendaries because they all the legendaries seem fun. But next up is Odin. Just because like it feels good for Control Warrior to have like a way to close out games. In Wild, you have like uh 2 mana spells that give you 10 armor, and that's a lot of damage. Like if you can stick an Odin and then just like play a couple of those, your opponent probably dies, right? Like their hero just explodes after that. Shield block is now 2 mana. Like you just the damage is just gets up there quickly. Then Argus. I actually did not play a single Demon Hunter deck during the theory crafting, but I played Argus multiple times and resummoned him with Rodden, and it was fantastic. He actually like does it like if you're playing a deck with a noticeable amount of minions, like the cost reduction is pretty cool. I don't think it'll be a very strong card, but like it opens up some fun possibilities. I even had a situation where I got through all 3 of his abilities and they were all very fun. And so I just need to learn how to place minions to the left of him so that they can get rush instead of lifesteal, especially when they already have lifesteal, like the behemoth. Like that was a play I made multiple times at the tail end of that 7-hour stream. Then finally, hell yeah, man! I just like shuffling the plagues, like, and I like playing the Jeff Bezos sound clip of hell yeah every time I draw her. So, I don't know. I like the plague archetype. Again, I like it. Feel like it's a correction from the feels bad parts of Bomb Warrior that we talked about earlier.
Yeah. I have some similar ones when going through the faves. Much like Roffle, it is easy to just kind of want to throw in every Titan. Titans are cool. Like the Titans are cool. There's a lot more even that I like from this set on an individual card basis than I thought when I was actually going through. I think my general impressions of the set improved as I was actually trying to like list stuff, which is a nice feeling compared to sometimes in Wild you go through and it's a little bit of a slog. All right, so the 5 favorite that I had, like Roffle, I had Odin and the Primus as well. I think those cards are very cool. Eonor was another Titan that I had, the Druid Titan. I think she's fancy and fun, and she'll be able to do some really wacky combo stuff. She was very satisfying to play. And then looking at non-legendaries, I had Starstrong Bow. I think smacking people for big damage with big bow is entertaining. So hyped for that one. And the last one, he couldn't quite get in my most powerful, but I just want to give the honorable shout out to Astral Automaton for making me excited to deck build and experiment with. And I am very much looking forward to playing with this card.
Yeah, fair shouts for the Astral Automaton. I think he made it onto my list too after that theory crafting stream. Dude, I can't believe you've done it again, and you've baited all of Wild with this Astral Automaton Priest. And
look, baiting before the set even comes out. This is advancements, getting better and better.
Faster and faster, right? Just like the scaling of the Astral Automatons. Now, I actually think that deck is sweet, even if it doesn't end up being super good. It's really funny to kill your opponent on turn 5 with
confuses the like funniest outcome.
Yeah. In case people are confused about why Confuse is a good card, you wanna walk people through that interaction, because I know you're gonna get a billion questions.
Oh sure. All right. So yeah, the thing about Confused with Astral Automaton is that when you flip the stats, the aura becomes permanent. So you have your 1/1 automaton, it's buffed up to a 4/4. it then becomes a 4/4, and then the buff is reapplied. So it becomes a 7/7. So when you confuse, it goes from a 4/4 to a 7/7. So it basically just double dips on whatever the buff is to every automaton that's on board, which can actually scale very quickly, because if you have like 4 automatons and they're all 5/5s, then all of a sudden confuse is plus 16 plus 16 of stats, which is
2 mana.
for 2 mana, and yeah, it gets pretty crazy very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a brief period of, if it does become even a remotely playable deck, there's going to be a brief period of learning with some of the mechanics associated with the automaton. You don't know how many people like just aggressively told me how bad I am for missing an equality like Hand of Justice play against Meowth on them, and I was just like, this is after me talking about it for several minutes before that turn lined up, demonstrating the effect with Ametus, and they still were freaking out over this like horrible misplay of an interaction that does not work.
Yeah. So what is it? Kids these days don't know about like Aura's effects and equality, right? The
Right.
South Sea Captain
South Sea Captain equality,
and War
Right.
Leader and stuff like that. Yeah, kids these days, man, they don't know.
They don't.
I remember
No,
the huge learning curve when like Barov came out and South Sea Captain was like still a thing, and people were just like, "What?
Yeah.
How does this not work?" Same with only classic gamers truly understand that with like Flame Tongue Totem and stuff. So, but yeah, no, Astral Automaton's on my list. I'm actually super excited about this card. Like the more I play with it, the more hype I am. I'm ready to be let down, but I'm hype about it. I only had 2 Titans on my favorites. So one of them is also ENR. She can just do some stupid things, like you said, right? Her abilities are kind of dumb. All 3 of them very, very powerful. I was there crafting some Reno Druid, and I put a Sathravar in my deck, unironically, just to get more ENRs, which I'm excited to do. You know, Reno Druids are always super greedy. ENR kind of just leans into that, and seems like a lot of fun. I also have Sargeras as my other Titan. I'm the Warlock guy, I guess, on the podcast. I have to give a shout out to him. He seems like just the 1-card win con, you know, alongside Symphony of Sins. Seems like I'm going to be playing a little bit more Arena Lock this expansion, so a little bit excited about that. I had Cultivation on here. This didn't make it into my strongest list, but I can't tell you the amount of people that have been asking me to play Treant Druid for the past 6 years, and now I will finally be playing Treant Druid, so, you know, they're not allowed to ask anymore. 0 mana buffs seem pretty good. And then last but not least for me, I had to do a shout out for Mecha Leaper. I don't play much Battlegrounds, and when I used to force the Leaper comp, and now that it's in, you know, constructed Hearthstone, some way or another I'm going to be, you know, forcing some Mecha Leaper, and seeing if there's anything, you know, busted you could maybe do with some of the Death Rattle activators in Hunter. But yeah, those are my five favorite. As usual, all of them, I think, very different between the 5 of us. But now it's time for some judgment. You know, Roffle, back to you. What are your 5 strongest cards of the set?
Okay, I feel like I took this pretty safe, which I did last set too, and it served me reasonably well. First up, I do have 1 Titan in Golganeth. Card just feels like you play it in every single Shaman deck that exists right now, and potentially even those that don't exist. Like Steven Cost, you played in even Shaman. It's you know, big bulky draw. You probably played in a Frog Shaman. You'd probably play it in Shudderwalk Shaman. Like it just does so many things. Like I can't tell you how many times the AoE healing just like won the game on the spot. Like it didn't need to do anything else, but then it did do any more things. So like that's the silly part. So just the seemingly insanely powerful card. Next up, I have Drone Deconstructor. This just fits perfectly into every mech deck that exists, and like some of the Spark bots are probably game winning if you hit the right one in the right situation. It probably just like can theoretically swing the game. So not something I'm terribly excited about, but it's probably a clear pick for something that's going to bolster all of the mech decks. Then I went with Flash of Lightning. seems to be a pretty big enabler for the shaman deck. Kind of like between this Crash of Thunder and like even Lightning Reflexes really surprised me, especially after the Flash of Lightning turn. I had a situation where a Lightning Reflexes got me my third copy of Flash of Lightning in hand, and then the game just ends the next turn after you play all three of those. Um, so like all of the whole like nature package is looking pretty strong in Shaman. Um, Next, I have Awakening Tremors. That's the 4/1, or it adds 3/4/1 beast to your hand, which just seems like too strong with a reduced cost under Rhino not to be good. Like you have the harpoon gun to hit the Rhino, you play those, the opponent's hero probably explodes. And then finally, I think this one is a not necessarily in the set, but like has already demonstrated itself as one of the best cards that is being added with the patch in Crusader Aura. So technically added to the core set, but it came with the expansion. It's doing some silly things in Mech Paladin already, and it's probably going to make Mech Paladin a very silly deck for the foreseeable future.
Damn, maybe we're not gonna differentiate as much as we were hoping. That said, there are 12 cards that I seriously considered, which is a lot. Like there are 5, and then I wrote down a ton of honorable mentions. So maybe I can mention them after, like Meowth has his picks as well. But the 5 that I had Golganath. That AoE is very dumb. The AoE healing is very, very good in Shaman, so that card's silly. I also had another Titan. I had a Monthel. To me, these are the two standout Titan cards, and I would not be shocked in the slightest if either of these are nerfed for largely standard reasons. But a Monthel obviously isn't going to be played in every priest deck in Wild. Like, you're not going to probably be playing it in Big Priest. Oh, well, probably not going to be playing it in Big Priest, but I think it is going to be so strong in Reno Priest that I couldn't really help but mention it. I just think it's so busted, so sure. I also had Flash of Lightning. I almost dropped it from the top 5, which may have been the spiciest take that I could come up with, but I just couldn't quite do it. I do think Flash of Lightning has some slight issues with how telegraphed it can be, but ultimately it's the big enabler. It's the thing that's going to cheat out like 10, 15 mana. And I mean, how do you say no to that? So it's very, very tempting. I also had Ancient Totem. 0 mana Totem in Even Shaman. Good. That card's going to be very annoying in the early game because Even Shaman becomes even more explosive. And the last one, much like Roffle, I have already seen the effects of this card, and I'm going to take a nice safe pick with Crusader's Aura because we already know it's good. So why not just put it in the top 5?
Yeah. All right. Well, I started off this whole section predicting that we were going to be very different. And I also have Flash of Lightning. I also have Crusader Aura. And I also have Golganath. So, maybe not. But I do have, I guess, a little bit of a different take. I also have Ancient Totem in here. This one was the one that I was, like, a little bit iffy on. Because, like, just how powerful can a 0 mana totem be? But then you, like, realize that a 0 mana totem is kind of busted. And I think it's just it's gonna be a strong piece in a really strong deck. So I think it, like, very safe pick here in the top 5. But then I guess I have the spiciest take, I think, with Inquisitive Creation in my top 5 strongest cards. And we haven't really talked about it much, but that's the 4 mana 3/4 mech. That's like Battlecry, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, improved by each spell school you've cast this game. And like, I think I was kind of underestimating it. I think when we were doing our card reviews, I kind of like glossed over it a bunch. I'm just like, yeah, like we've talked about this, blah, 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 blah. And then I played it in Standard, and I was like, man, on curve, this is a 4 mana that deals 3 damage to everything. Kind of on curve, and that's kind of nutty. And then you like look at Mage and Wild, and you look at like obviously like Quest Mage and Rena Mage and things like that can probably abuse that. But then I like took a look at everybody's favorite deck in something like Secret Mage, and just realized that like in Secret Mage, this is also just a 4 mana that deals 3 on curve, and that seems kind of cracked in something like Secret Mage. And when I was doing theory crafting, I I cut Chatty Bartender, which is not something I thought I would ever do, but like it just seemed like it was there's no condition on this card like there is on Chatty Bartender, right? Where you just get the AOE, and so I think this card's going to be a staple in every mage deck unless it gets nerfed for standard reasons. Where I could totally see this being really strong in standard. They nerf it to like not do any damage baseline, and then we might have to reevaluate it for wild. But I think this is a card that I've like not seen anybody really talking about. But this card does seem like really insane.
You know, you say that, but I was this close to including
Really?
it
Okay.
on there.
Okay.
If we weren't going to allow the Crusader aura, it was going to be my fifth because this card is such a huge, like, just swing card. Like, and you know, people might like laugh at a card like this in Secret Mage, but like Secret Mage is the tempo deck. It relies on board to win, and the tempo swing of developing a 3/4 on curve that clears your opponent's entire board because you know very rarely things have more than 3 health going into turn 4. Like this card probably won me more games in like the that whatever multicaster Sif Mage than Sif did. Like it was clearly the standout card in that deck.
Yeah, I didn't consciously really write these in order, but it was the very first card I wrote down in my honorable mentions. So it was top of mind. It almost made it. If it was doing more of a purely standard list, this probably would have been in my top 3. So
Yeah. Okay. So you guys let me go on my soapbox for no reason. You guys should have stepped in and said something.
nah, let you.
I thought I was like the only one
I mean,
that was like hyped about this
nah,
card.
nah. We hadn't mentioned it. You weren't wrong. And you were the one that put it in your top 5. But yeah, ultimately I think pretty similar. Like we mostly had 3 or 4 of the same cards, largely, and then some of the differentiators were a Monthul on my part, the Tremors for Roffle, and then Inquisitor for Meowth. I think those are the main things
The
that we had
notable ones,
differently.
at least. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Some other cards like that I wrote down, at least like this that they're out there. Crash of Thunder, sure. Like Crash of Thunder.
I asked you guys beforehand, can I just like lump them together, and you guys told me no. But they like they
I-
go
yeah,
hand
I
in
mean,
hand, right? With
I
Flash
cheated
Lightning.
and brought them up anyway.
yeah, yeah. Crash of Thunder is very, very insane. Imprisoned Horror. You know, I think we all have a little bit of doubt about how Questline Warlock or that kind of a Warlock in general can perform in Wild, but I'm sure we all agree that 0 mana 5/5s are quite strong in this format. So that's another one. Thorin, you know, another card for the Frog deck that felt really insane when I was playing with it. Cultivation, Meowth had it as his honorable, one of his favorites, and I also wrote down Automaton. Like it might seem like a complete meme, but it wouldn't. I wouldn't be shocked if there's a very viable Automaton Priest at this stage, especially after toying around with it. So that's what I had like as the 12 things that I just noted down.
Yeah. So I mean, interested in what the the audience thinks. Did we miss anything like super powerful? I also just like generally, I know when reveal season like initially concluded, there was a little bit of hesitation about how we were feeling with the set, specifically for Wild. Basically, the vibe that I'm getting is that that's kind of picked up at least over the past like week or so. Like we're feeling a lot better about the set for Wild. It feels like just like Festival of Legends, there's going to be like 10 or so cards that are probably going to be very highly impactful in the format. And by highly impactful, I mean like they're going to see play in decks, right? Maybe not like break the meta wide open, but 10 or 12 cards seeing play seems pretty insane.
I am more optimistic about this set than Festival. I think Festival had a smaller handful of cards that were very extreme, obviously headlined by Instrument Tech. But I think that this set, the top end is very deep. And there's a lot of potential standouts. Like I didn't have Drone Construct in my top 5, and I already know it's going to see him play in top tier decks and be a very good card in top tier decks. So it's like, I think we have a lot of powerful stuff going on here.
Yeah, I think the strength of the set is clear. Like, I think that there will probably be a above average portion of the new cards in either existing decks or new decks. That said, I'm not like super pumped for some of the decks that are getting support, as well as like probably getting made out of this set. Like Frog Shaman isn't terribly fun to play against. Mech Paladin also the same. Everybody knows my feelings about Even Shaman. They've remained consistent since the first time through. So like I'm not super excited about some of the decks getting support, but like yeah, it is going to be an impactful set. It seems like.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, I think that's a good thing to differentiate is the power versus like the excitement of what specifically is getting supported. Because yeah, listing all these cards out, it's a bit dicey. Yeah. We'll see though.
We'll see. I am excited though that when there are like 10 or 12 strong cards in a set, I think that's exciting because I remember having sets where there's like we were struggling to find the fifth card for our fifth strongest, and that's not because we couldn't decide between 8 options. It's just like there wasn't like a fifth card. I remember when we had expansions like that, and that at least that we have 12. That means there's hype, right? There's a lot of stuff that we get to play with, which I think is important. That being said, I'm excited to see kind of how the meta shakes out. I'm expecting a lot of Frog Shaman day one. I'm also expecting a lot of Titans to see play. At least in the first week, I'm excited to see, just how good they are, and whether that argument of them being too slow or not is actually like a viable argument for our format. But yeah, any last words before the expansion comes out tomorrow? Anything you want to make sure is out there in the world before people get to play the cards? Any predictions, anything like that?
No, I think it looks like it, in spite of that, like some of the maybe less powerful cards. So I don't want to be full doomer because some of the maybe less powerful cards still seem fun to play, right? So like maybe like something like an Automaton Priest could be a fun fringe playable like archetype that could be generated whole cloth, and that would be fun, I think. Things like some of the if any of the Titans see play at all, like that seems like a pretty big win to me, just because that means we're getting to turn 6 and 7, so I would consider that a win just if we see any Titans play. Unfortunately, it's probably just like the main one that's going to see play is Golganeth, which like again we talking about the decks that it goes in, not super happy about that, but hopefully some of the other ones get some love too.
Automaton fringe archetype. Wash your mouth out, Roffle. No. There's stuff that I'm excited to try. I don't think there's anything out there. I don't know. I laid down the spiciest predictions I could realistically think of. I don't know. I think we've talked it all out. So, containment unit, best card of the set. Well, glad we all agree.
That one came out of nowhere. No, I'm ready for bold prediction. Astral Automaton. Tier 3 deck in the next VS report, whenever that happens. Tier 3 deck. It's going to be real. No fringe archetype here. It's going to be a real deck. It's going to get nerfed. It's going to be that butt. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, look. If Clergy Priest can get banned, and nerfed while being 40% deck, why can't Automaton? All right, please don't nerf Automatons. Please, Liz. No, I'm interested. If you guys are listening, make sure you guys leave your comments down below with the cards, the decks, and stuff that you guys are most excited to try out. Roffle and Corb and I will all be streaming this week, making tons of content. So guys, thanks for joining me, and let the people know where they can find you guys and that content.
Yeah, you can find me live on Twitch and YouTube, probably the first several days straight of the expansion, and YouTube content going out daily.
And you can find me at Corbett on Twitch or Corbettgames on YouTube.
Oh, no mention of the Twitter or X this time. I see what you did.
I couldn't do it.
You guys can find me at Get Me Off on all those platforms. Thanks again for listening all the way to the end of the episode. Hope everybody enjoys Titans when it comes out tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you guys again next time. Later.